All right, so we are recording, and we will post this presentation on both the elementary math and elementary EL, AL, EPD pages, as well as the kindergarten early learning EPD site. Also, as we go along this afternoon, if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. We've got a lot of material to cover today, and we're hoping that we answer some of your questions as we go along. And if we've got Camille and Jesse here in the room with me, and if they see some of your questions in the chat, they can answer right away, they will. And if not, we will compile all of the questions and then put together a Q&A for you that we will distribute following this session. All right, so please give us your questions. We're happy to answer them. It just may not be today, so be patient with us. So today, your hosts are Teresa Sorosky, which is myself, and I am actually here in the room with Camille and Jesse. I don't know if you can see them. Hi. So we are all here together, and we will play musical chairs as we move through the session this afternoon, so that we don't have to switch computers. So thank you very much to both Camille and Jesse for being part of our session today. We are going to do a quick screener overview. So we'll talk a little bit about what the purpose of the screener is this afternoon. We'll talk about the timeline and some significant dates. Then we'll go into the literacy screeners with Camille, and then the numeracy screeners with Jesse. And we'll have some information on the data input, and then some tips and tricks for you at the end. So hopefully we can get through everything and get you on your way around 2:30 this afternoon. So our purpose this afternoon, it's really important that that everybody be aware of why we're doing this. This comes from the website Alberta Education, and this is right from their website, and this is right from what they're telling us, is that we all know that numeracy and literacy are two important skills that are developed during early childhood. These screening assessments are to help you as teachers identify the students who are most in need of additional support and intervention. This is not a PAT. This is not a final exam. This is not a reflection on you as a teacher. This is not a reflection on your school. This is to identify those students who need some help, intervention, additional support, especially during this time when they're just these little five-year-olds and they're developing. So it really provides us with a window into how our students are doing. These early years, these assessments are formative assessment. They're meant to complement, not replace, your day-to-day observations in classroom assessment. So this is not a replacement for any of the good, sound assessment practices that you currently have in place. This is just meant to be a complement to that. So it's really important, again, that you remember these are formative assessments, that it's progress, not mastery. So we're not looking for kindergarten students who can do all of the things on these screening assessments. All we are looking for are those students who may need some support with some of the numeracy and literacy skills. So please, 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 please don't teach to this assessment. You have enough to cover and worry about in your classes when you're looking at building that safety for your students, making sure that you've got your routines in place, building those relationships with your students and families, making sure that you've got play-based learning in place. You've got lots of things to focus on. Do not teach to this assessment. This is just meant to give you some information on how or if your students need some additional support or intervention. Okay, so with that in mind now, we've only got one screening period. So for kindergarten, that screening period will happen in January, once we come back from break to the end of the month. And we don't have anything else at any other time through this school year. So some of the other grades will have 2 screening assessments, kindergarten only 1 screening assessment time. For French immersion, we mentioned this the other day when we had a group of kindergarten teachers together, but it's really important to note that these assessments are to be administered in English. And again, this is part of our instructions that come straight from Alberta Education, that kindergarten students be assessed in English, and as that tends to be their earliest stages of learning, or the earliest stages of learning in French are still very new to them. You could accept their responses in either language, however. So you assess in English, but you can accept both an English or French response from your students. Okay, some significant dates. The first one is that the testing period, as I've noted, is January 13th to 31st. All of the screening tests have to be administered at that time, and then you will submit your scores in the teacher dashboard, and the ladies here with me will explain how to do all of that, because I don't have a clue. Then we will go on to in February. So once these screening assessments are done, you can use that information that you've learned about your students to inform your planning. So you don't need to wait until the results are posted. You can allow that to inform your planning right away. So if through that you discover that many of your students are still starting at number 1 for number recognition and understanding and counting, then that's where you start, and you can go ahead and allow that to inform your programming. The other thing is we have another session coming for you in February as well. So we will put together something for you. Then we don't have a date on that yet, but sometime in February, we'll put together another session that will help you work through how you access and interpret your results. And then March 7th to the 13th, those results are posted to the teacher dashboard. And again, we will help you access that, and we will keep you informed as we go. This isn't going to be the only time that we connect on this.
There's going to be a session focusing on accessing and interpreting.
Yes, teacher support. So I can tell all of you that I am working really hard with Leanne Timko and Kathleen Kostyuk, our diverse learner director and superintendent, on getting some support in place. They are behind this. They know that we want to definitely support you as you're going through this, because we really want this assessment to be done by you, the classroom teacher. We really don't want it to be somebody else coming in to do the assessment. It's important that you guys do this assessment yourselves, because that helps you understand your students better, and it gives you really key information, and you can use that information in your planning and talking to parents and working with your class. So, but we will try to see if we can get you some coverage so that your class can be taught while you take out your students or work with your students in a small group, however that works for you. And we'll let you know how that all shakes down, but that won't be until December that we have a better understanding of that. So it's coming. I just don't know what it looks like at this point. Okay, so accessing the screener materials and the results. So you need to go to the new.learnalberta.ca website, log in, and then the assessments are under the Provincial Assessment Hub. So you can see the screenshot there. You will get a copy of this presentation, or we will post a copy of this presentation. And so if you forget, you can go to the screenshot. But if you're on your computer now, go ahead, log in, give it a go so that you have a sense of what you're looking at. If you need an account and you don't have one, then go ahead and click in the login. I'm new, sign me up. Follow the instructions. You'll need your Alberta teacher number, and then the principal at your school will approve your account. So if you can't see the assessment hub, then you have to make sure that you're logged in. So you might have to just go up to the upper right-hand corner and make sure you log in. Did I get that right, ladies?
You did.
All right. For the literacy materials, you need to choose the literacy screening assessment folder, and then under that folder, you can see where the assessments are there. So you just click there to access those. And then the numeracy one, there's additional ones for the Literacy. So you can download and print the 3 literacy screeners for kindergarten. And those are, again, acronyms, the PASS, the RAN, and the LENS. We have acronyms for everything. But the PASS is that phonological awareness screening test. The RAN is the rapid automatized naming. And the LENS is the letter, name, sound for kindergarten.
Nicely done.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. I'm getting it. I tell you, you're never too old to learn new things, right? Numeracy is the same idea. Go to the provincial numeracy screening assessments, and then you'll see the box for the kindergarten section there. And then you will be able to click on the provincial numeracy screener assessments and the individual student response sheet, right? So that is accessing the materials. So detailed instructions about setting your accounts will be shared at the end of the presentation, but you are welcome to try to log in now and get that going if you've never done that before. And then that I'm going to pass it on now to Camille, who's going to really dig into the literacy screeners section. So give us just a moment here. I'm just going to get up. And Camille, you just have to press that keyboard.
This one?
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Camille Lazupski. I am your elementary ELAL consultant. And before that, I was an early learning consultant. So I'm happy to be back. Here we go. Okay, so let's get into the literacy screener. So again, the purpose is formative, right? We're going to quick look at each student. We can share with parents. That's optional conversation. And it's going to provide some intervention strategies for that child. And it's going to provide data and strategies for SRT and LSPs. Okay, it's not diagnostic, it's not summative, and it's not curriculum online. Okay, screeners are formative. They're there just to provide us with a glimpse into kids. Okay, and it's going to help us understand the student's strengths and next steps for learning. Okay, so the first test that we're going to do is the RAN, which is the rapid automized naming digits. This one's pretty straightforward. You're going to print the task needed. I'm sure you guys know this part, but I just want you to know that the steps are there for you when you download the test. So just follow the instructions, but I just want to show you what's going to happen. And so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to show the students these numbers, and the students are going to say the numbers to you. You're going to ask them to say the numbers. So if the kid goes 5, 7, 2, and 3, you're going to do the test. If the student is not able to name any of the numbers, you're not going to do the test. Okay, you're going to discontinue the test if the student does not know any of the numbers. If they know one number, you're going to do the test. But if they don't know any numbers, you don't have to do this test because it wouldn't make any sense. Okay, so the administration rules is 1-to-1. The student's going to say the correct digits on the task as quickly as they can. Okay, and you're going to record the student's responses on the scoring sheet. So put a check mark for a correct response, an X for an incorrect, and record the completion time on the scoring card. Record the number of errors, including omissions. If the student has 9 or more errors, you're going to stop. Oops, I got out of here. Hold on. Teresa, come back. I did something. It's not my computer. Sorry, guys. What did there we go.
Can we still see it? No, I think we stopped sharing something.
Sorry, my fault, you guys. Okay, that was kind of in my way. It's okay. Sorry, guys. Okay, so for the RAN, you're going to give them card 1, and they're going to go through the numbers left to right. Okay, you want to direct them that they're going to go left to right, and they're going to say the numbers. And as you can see, I was just correcting it. And if they got an X, that was an X. If they got it right, it was a check mark. And then I recorded the time, 31 seconds, and they got 17 out of 24 correct. So I'm going to continue to card 2. Okay, because they got more than 9 correct. Okay, and then on card 2, I did all the correct and X's for what they got correct. Okay, and so that one's pretty straightforward. And then you're done. There's 2 cards and you're done. Are there any questions for that one? I think that one's pretty straightforward. It's not going to confuse anyone. And so the reason for the rapid automation test is you're looking for a student's ability to recall something familiar to them. And that's why they're using numbers, because numbers at this time would be more familiar to a student than letters. Okay, and so that's how we do the RAN. So the PASS, the phonological awareness test, okay, you're going to fill out the sheet, put the student's name and the Alberta number. And so we have to do D and E. Okay, and so you're going to go through it. And so at the beginning, you're going to say bookcase, now say bookcase, but don't say book. Okay, and then you're going to record the response. If the student gets it wrong, they get it wrong. If they get it right, they get it right. Okay, and you're going to continue D and E. So this goes in part 1, part 2, and each part has 2 pieces. So part 1 is D and E, part 2 is F and G. Okay, so you're going to do D and E, and then you're going to continue to G and E. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to show you that the rules are there and the administration's there. And you always want to use the letter sounds when we're doing the administration of this. Okay, so you don't want to say change A to I. You want to say change A to I when you get to the sounds. And you want to make sure that you're making clear sounds and not adding the schwa. So you don't want to say fa, you want to say f, you want to say Student has 5 seconds to give you an answer. If they have not given you an answer within 5 seconds, they get it incorrect. Okay. Okay. So again, at the bottom here, we're going to do D and E. If a student scores 3 or fewer on the adjacent ones, you have to do F and G. So once they are in F and G and they score 3 or less, you can stop. So you have to do D and E, and then you have to continue to F and G. Okay. This it's just showing you again. So you're going to do D and E, and then F and G. Okay. Okay. So here is D and E again. And so I was just giving some examples. So I said, say bookcase, and the kid then don't say book. What do you get? The kid says case, they got it right. Say sunset, don't say sun. Kid says set, they got it correct. So say silver, don't say sill, and the kid wrote, they didn't get the right response, so an X. Say market, don't say mar, kid says ket. Okay, say gentle, don't say tull, kid said gen, so they got 4 out of 5. Okay, and so on the next one, if you say umbrella without saying you get umbrella. Okay, say fantastic without saying fan, and the kid says tastic, so they got that right. Say alphabet without saying owl, the kid says a bet, they got it right. Say Saturday without saying sat, you get day. Okay. Say tricycle without saying try, you get cycle. So whatever in the bracket is what you're going to omit. Okay, so they got 4, they got 5, you can continue. Okay. So on this part, so if you say feet without saying you get, kid says eat. If you say cough without saying k, you get cough. The kid got that one wrong. Okay. If we say tame without saying t, we get aim. If we say time without saying t, we get I'm. If we say cone without saying k, we get, and the kid answered own. Okay. So they got 4 out of 5. We're going to keep going. Okay. I think you get the gist of this now. So on this one, they got 0. So for the set though, they got 4 out of 10. I need to keep going. Okay, so now we're getting into blends. Just if a student's doing this in kindergarten, there you know that this kid's reading, okay, because they understand. Okay, but my guess is you're not going to get that far with lots of kids. But this one with same thing. I'm just going to do one example. Is if you say sleep without this, you get leap. Okay, this student said seep. In the next part, they said cane, and they started to get all the responses wrong. So they got 0 on this, on H, and then in I, they got 1. I discontinued the test at this point. Okay, so each part has 2 letters in it. Just that will help you understand how to administer this test.
And Claire, what was the number again that you stop at? If they get less than
3 or less.
3 or less, you stop. And
Yeah.
if they get 4 or more, we keep going. to
Keep
the
going. And it's right in the administration rules that tells you. Okay. Someone asked a question about if you can change the wording. I'm going to check with the government, but my guess is because it's a standardized test. Okay, so that means that everybody's giving it the same way, that the answer is, can you please do what we asked you to do? Okay, and can you use hand signals? My guess is they're going to say no. But I'm going to ask, and I will let Teresa know what the answer is from the government. It's a really good question. I understand what you're saying, but it's standardized, and so we need everyone to do it the same way. Okay, good. So the lens, this one's pretty straightforward, right? So you guys are going to do card 1 and card 2. Just ignore the card 3, 4, and 5. You don't have to do that. Kindergarten, you're just doing card 1 and 2. Okay. And so for this one, you're going to use lens card 1, and you're first going to ask the student to do the names of the letters. Okay. And then if the student correctly says 5 or fewer letter names, you're going to stop part 1. So 5 or fewer, you can stop. 6 or more, you're going to go on. Okay, same with that. And then if they get to letter card 2, it doesn't matter, you're going to stop anyways. Okay, so 5 or less stop, 6 or more continue. So the student's going to go across, and then they're going to go O, A, S, I, M, C, T, F, K, V. They got 5 or more, okay? Or maybe they got 1 wrong, they got 9 right, you're going to keep going. Okay, so 5 or less stop, 6 or more continue. And then on card 2, they got 8 right, so they got 17 correct in all in the name accuracy. Okay. And then we got to do it again, but now we're going to ask them to tell us the sound that the letter will make when we see it. Okay. And so on this one, they got 9 right again, or sorry, they got 8. I'm in the sound accuracy now. They got 8, so I'm going to continue to the next page to card 2 because 5 or less stop, 6 or more continue. And here we go. And then you can see that they struggled a little bit more on this and they got 2. So the total was 10. Okay. And so, oh, this is, I'm just going to go through this because you guys don't have to do this. This is the CC3. Sorry, we didn't take that out. But you don't have to do it. So yay. But are there any questions for me for the screeners for literacy? No? So the literacy ones are pretty straightforward and they're really good assessments to check to see how kids are progressing. And just remember, it's not about you and how you've been teaching. It's about where a kid is in a time and place. And if we can catch them to see if there's anything that could potentially be hindering their learning, that's what it's for. Okay, and now I'm going to hand it over to Miss Jessie.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name's Jessie Zanutek. I'm the elementary math consultant. Thanks, Camille, for that. So welcome. Thanks for being here today. I'm going to go through the numeracy screeners and what they look like and some ways that we can be efficient and get some good data from our students about where they're at with their foundational numeracy skills. So I can't see the chat right now, so I'll answer any questions when I get to the end. So let's get started. My messaging is the same about the numeracy screeners as Camille was, that this is a formative assessment. We're looking to see where students are at with their numeracy skills. So it doesn't have anything to do with, how much or how little you've taught so far. You'll see that some of the tasks within the numeracy screeners will certainly not be taught in January in kindergarten. It's more about getting a snapshot of where students are at so that we can use that data to drive our instruction and catch any students who might have some gaps in their foundational understanding. So it's not diagnostic, it's not summative, and it's not curriculum aligned. This is all very intentional because the purpose is really to see where those gaps are. We're talking about numeracy here, not necessarily the math curriculum. So it's a little bit of a different focus. They're formative, they're going to give us a clue. Now, this is a visual of all of the numeracy screeners that the kindergartens are involved in. And I want to point out a few important pieces here. Kindergarten, you're looking at the blue dots or the blue squares here. So you can see that within the counting skills, there's 3 for kindergarten. And then there's 1 in comparing numbers and 1 in numbers on the number line. So the counting ones you can see are either just for kindergarten or for kindergarten and grade 1. It's the same assessment. And that's good. That means that that's like they're kind of that beginning early years assessment. Now look at the counting numbers and the numbers on the number line. These are the same assessments for kindergarten that the grade 1s, 2s, and 3s are also doing. And so what Alberta Ed is looking for with these ones is the growth over the years. So the expectation is when you administer the same assessment, kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, that student over these 4 years will show growth. And so not only is it an in the moment assessment, it's also a long-term growth assessment to see is that student growing and learning as they're moving up through the grades. Now, that being said, and we'll get into those ones, they are the same assessments as grade 1, 2s, and 3s are doing. So I really want to focus our attention on these counting ones because these are really nice assessments to see where kids are at. The other ones are more about that long-term thing. We're going to put less emphasis on those ones. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So to access the numeracy screeners, Teresa went through this a little bit, but just a quick review, you have to be logged in to New Learn Alberta. If you're not logged in with your teacher license through the whole process, you won't be able to see the Provincial Assessment Hub. So if you log in and you can't see it, or you're not logged in at all and you can't see it, it's because you have to go through that process. It involves principals approving it. Once you get in there, you click on the Provincial Numeracy Screening button, and then there's an entire button for kindergarten. So you click on that button and it's going to open up the documents that you need for kindergarten. This is what it looks like. The first two are the ones that you'll need. So the provincial screening, numeracy screening assessments, that's the teacher guide. I'll show you what it looks like. It has all the information. It has like the script that you say and everything in it. And then the individual student response sheets, you'll print that one for every student. It's not a lot in the kindergarten, which is nice. One of the sheets, the main sheet, this is the one that we really want to focus our attention on because these are the really good assessments within this screener, is the counting. So this is a one-pager. It's one for every student, but you as the teacher fill this out, obviously. So you'll put the student's name and the date and information on this sheet. And then you'll record their scores. So their rote counting score, their counting set score. There's two pieces to that one, and then the naming numbers score. And I'll go through what each of these are. So at the end of the assessments, you'll have one of these sheets for every student that's filled out with all of their numbers on it. So let's start with the rote counting. So in this one we do in kindergarten and grade 1. It's the exact same assessment. And this one is looking to see if students can count from 1. So you can see in the red there in the administration instructions, the red is the script. This is what you say. So it says there, can you please count for me? Count as high as 100. Now, my recommendation is because kindergarten, your curriculum is to 10 and we're not going to 100 in kindergarten. This has been, I think, modified from the grade 1 assessment. So my recommendation would just be like, can you count for me? And you can also prompt them by saying like 1, what number comes after 1? And get them to try and say 2. But I would leave out the 100 piece because we don't want them to feel like they're expected to count to 100. So just say, can you count for me? And then prompt them to say what comes after 1. If they can't answer anything, you're just going to write 0. It's perfectly okay. We just want to see if the student can count. So that's the first one. You see how high they can count. We mark it on that first score sheet. I put a thumbs up here because I think this is a good assessment. We do want to know if our students can count from 1. And if they can't, we need to identify that as a gap in their numeracy understanding. They should be able to at least count a little bit by then. So this is a good assessment. This is one that I feel is worth putting some energy into to get some good data about our students. The second assessment within counting is called counting sets. So this one involves some cards that I'll show you in a second with dot patterns on them. This one is assessing 2 different things. It's assessing one-to-one correspondence and it's assessing cardinality. So what one-to-one correspondence means is the student assigning a number for each item? So for example, if there's 3 dots, are they saying 1, 2, 3? Sometimes we have students who say 1, 2, 3, and they point at a lot of things. And so they might be missing that one-to-one correspondence in their counting. So the first thing we're going to ask is, can you point and count the dots? So we want them to actually point 1, 2, 3. The second thing we're going to ask is, how many dots are there all together? And that's what cardinality is. Can they see the whole? And so how many do we see all together? If you ask that question and they say, oh, 1, 2, 3, that's counting. That's one-to-one correspondence again. So we say, how many? And if they can't say there's 3 altogether, then they're missing that cardinality piece. They can count, but they can't identify and hold in their head that there are 3 in total. So we want to see if they have both of those pieces. 1, 2, 3. How many are there altogether? There are 3. Okay, so twofold. And there we go. I'll put those up on the screen. So we'll record both of those responses on the data sheet. This is a good assessment too. One-to-one correspondence and cardinality are really foundational skills for learning numeracy as students move up into grade 1 and 2. And kindergarten is a really ideal space to build these skills, these counting skills, and this understanding of holding numbers in our head. So again, thumbs up for this one. I think this is a good and very age-appropriate assessment to see if our students have those. This is an example of the dot cards. Right, so they go up like this. And we just say, how many? If they can't do it, then once they can't do one anymore, you can stop the test, record their score, and move on. Okay, the third one is the naming number. So again, this is the same assessment as in grade 1. In this one, there'll be number cards. So you just print, cut them out. It's really quick. And we show the students the cards in order that they are on the sheet. And then you say, tell me what number this says. And they say the number. So we're trying to see if they can identify the number on the sheet. And sometimes students might understand what 3 is, but they might not yet have associated that symbol, you know, with like the 2 bumps that we call 3. They might not have associated that symbol with the concept of 3. So they might be able to count to 3, but not yet matched. So we want to see if they are able to do that. So we show them the cards in order. So this is an example of the cards here. So we start with 3, 1, 7, 2, 9, 12. When they have made 3 mistakes in a row, we can stop the assessment. So as you can see, they're probably not going to get to the farther end of this. And this is the same assessment in grade 1 too. So we just want to see that growth over time. So overall, I'm giving this one as well a thumbs up because making that connection between the symbolic representation of the concept is an important thing to be able to identify for our students. If students can't do this, this tells us what we can focus on to help them. So those are the 3 that are good assessments. Those are my thumbs up. The next 2 I'm going to show you are the ones, remember, that the kindergarten, grade 1, 2, and 3 all do. So I'll show you what this means. We'll talk about it after. The first one is called comparing numbers. So in this one, this is a timed one. They get 60 seconds for this. We don't really even want to show them that it's being timed or show them the timer. We just want to see how much they can do in this one. What we're doing is they're presented with a sheet with 2 numbers next to each other, and they're going to cross out the larger number. So in this case, 2 are done for them. So 4 is larger than 3, so the 4 is crossed out. 2 is larger than 1, so 2 is crossed out. This is the practice. So then we would say 6 or 9, and they cross out the 9. 2 and 1, they cross out the 2, okay? This is what the sheet looks like. So that's the same sheet for kindergarten, grade 1, 2, and 3. So I'm not an expert in kindergarten. I've never taught kindergarten, but I don't feel like kindergartens will get very far in this. And so that's very much okay. A few recommendations. I would fold this sheet in half so they don't see all of it. You could even cut it, like cut the first 2 or 3 rows and just show them that. We don't expect them to get very far in this. If they don't have any idea of comparison or magnitude to be able to compare these 2 symbols, then just put it as a 0 and move on. This assessment gets a bit of a thumbs down from me because we need to do it, and it would be interesting to see if students can do it. But personally, I wouldn't spend too much energy on this. So if the student is not able to do it, I would say back to our practice. If they can't even do the practice, mark it as 0 and send them back to go back and play. It's perfectly okay for students to score a 0, especially on this one. Perfectly okay as a 0. Remember, we're looking for growth over time. Okay. So not a big focus. The other one that is not going to be a big focus for us, we'll do it, but again, we're not going to push too hard on this one because this one also we see in kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, and 3 is the numbers on the number line. So this one, we're going to say the number and the students put a mark where they feel that number is on the number line. You can have them, if they understand number lines, you can say, okay, we have a 0 and we have a 10. Where does the number 1 go? Here's some examples from the kindergarten. So again, if they can't do the example, because there's a practice one, there's one that they can see what it looks like, and then there's a practice. If they can't do the practice, just put a 0 as their score and move on. This one is not worth spending a lot of time on because we're looking for growth over time. Okay, so
And over 3 or 4 years.
over 4 years of growth. So if they start at 0, actually that's really good. It's perfectly okay. You don't have to be pushing them to learn number lines right now. So yeah, if they can't do the example, just put a 0 on the test. But maybe they can do question 1 and then that's kind of it, and that's okay. The way that we mark this one, just so that you're aware, is that if a student's score, like if their mark kind of goes within that larger oval, they're somewhere in that range, they get 1 point. But if they're within that smaller oval, they get 2 points. If they're outside of that oval, or if they squiggled on the page, they get 0 points. Okay, and 0 is perfectly okay for kindergarten. I give this one a thumbs down as well. We're going to do it, but we're not going to focus on this one. Okay, it's perfectly okay for everyone in your class to get 0. It's those first 3 that we really want to focus on. And I guess, you know, at the end of the day, we want kids to love math because it's so fun and it's collaborative and it's playful. And so we don't want these screeners to create stress and anxiety for our students and a negative feeling around math and around numbers. So you be the judge of that. And if the students can't approach it, please just put a 0 as their score and move on rather than trying to push something that they're probably not ready for. So, how are we doing? Oh, I have more. Beautiful. Do we have any questions about?
We did have a really good question.
Okay,
Someone
great.
asked if the teacher can cross out the number for them and the student just point. I said we'd reach out to Alberta Ed.
Yeah,
Because
that
that's
is
a
an
good
interesting
point.
question.
We're not testing fine motor, right? I understand the question, but
Yeah.
I think we were just going to reach out to Alberta Ed and we'll find out and we'll let you know in a Q&A.
Yeah.
Good question, Amber.
Yeah, that is a good question.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Anything else that kind of came up from that?
No.
You're pretty okay.
No
Okay.
other questions.
If something sparks, yeah, let us know.
Oh, someone just asked, do we need to complete all 5 tests at the same time, or can we complete 1 to 3 one day and 4 to 5 maybe the next day?
Excellent question. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, no, you can do it in whatever way you want. There is a 3-week window to do this. So you could, whatever works for you in whatever order. So yeah, maybe doing like the first 3 at a time, like you said, or doing 1 at a time, or I mean, you could do all 5 at the same time. Whatever works for you. There's so much flexibility in that, right?
And it depends if you do it as a center, right?
Yeah.
You could be sitting at a center with your students while the rest, and then rotate through it, and that could be all week that you take to do that, right?
Yeah, great point. Yeah. There's no rules about that whatsoever. It's completely up to you to make it work in your context.
Yeah. Thanks, Shannon.
Excellent question.
Nope. No more
Anything
questions.
else?
Nope, not yet.
All right, that's pretty good. So once we've done all the assessments, the literacy and numeracy, they get uploaded into what's called the teacher dashboard. The DLCTs in your school are like pros at this teacher dashboard now, right? Because we've been in this screener world for a little bit. So So we've just put this screen up here because this is where people get lost in this. It's called the teacher dashboard. You can access it through the website that's linked here. You can also access it through New Learn Alberta with the teacher dashboard link. But then we get to this page and you see that like tiny little teacher access button in the top right hand corner. That's what you have to click. Don't get misguided and distracted by the cute little abominable snowman there. Okay, I wish they put an abominable snowman by teacher access so that we would look there. But we're not getting into the grade 3 SLA platform. It's the teeny tiny little teacher access button at the very right hand corner. And if you can't find it, reach out to Camille and I. We will walk you through it because we probably couldn't find that for the first few months that we did this. So that's the number one spot that we kind of get stuck, is just finding access to it. Then once you're in there, you can create your class. So click on the digital assessment on the left and then click manage class list. You're going to see all the grade 1, 2s, and 3 class lists already made there because they did theirs in September. So you can click manage class list and then you can input your class. The classes are loaded through Alberta student number, the student's Alberta student number. So it's actually pretty, we don't have a testing ground, but I've seen teachers do it and it's pretty intuitive because they're if they're registered at your school, they already show up. So it's a pretty easy process to roster your students. And then you go in and you enter the data. Your DLs are seasoned pros at this now because they've been through the September one for sure. The deadline is Friday, January 31st for inputting the data. And it takes like, I don't know, what do you think, Camille? Like for a class of 25, it probably takes 10, 15 minutes, probably. Maybe the first time is a little longer as you're learning it, but
Yeah. The names aren't all loaded. They have to put the names in themselves. Is that right?
see, we don't have a testing ground, so it's tricky for us to know the answer. But I want to say that they're associated with the school. So when you choose your school and you create your classroom, you can go in and choose the students that are rostered at your school. But sometimes I've heard that a student might not be there, and then you can search for them with their Alberta student number.
Yeah, we have some questions. Someone's asking if they can do it now. You can go and try to do it now, but my guess is it won't be open to you to do it until that window. That's what we found with the
Yes.
grade ones. But if it's open and it allows you to do it, go for it. But my guess is it might not be accessible until that window because they don't want people doing the assessments in December. They want them done in January. So maybe.
Yeah, that's a great, and again, we don't have a test ground to try it, but see how it says 2023, 24, like there's a drop down there. You have to make sure you're in there, but that's not right. No, this is from last year. That's right. This is an old one. You have to make sure you're in 2024, 25. You can try.
You can try.
But yeah.
But if it's not there, it's probably because you're not in the window and they don't
Yeah.
want people doing the assessments ahead of time because that skews the data.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, good
Very
question.
good. Yeah.
So let us know if you try.
Yeah,
That works.
we're curious.
We'll let everybody know. Go on.
Anything else there?
No other questions right now.
And there's people in your school who know how to do this too, and you can always reach out to us if you have anything here. So the two major reminders here that you need a login for the New Learn Alberta site. So if you don't have that yet, go log in there, like try it today if you can, and create your account. So one of the things you need to create your Learn Alberta account is your teacher, what is it called? Teacher license number, your teacher certification number. And you can find that on the HR self-service page under profile details. Your teacher license or teacher certificate number will be there, and you need that to create your teacher account on New Learn Alberta. So HR, that's where it is. Then you also need to have teacher access to the SLA dashboard, and your principal will have to give you access to that as well. So remember, like the abominable snowman that's distracting us, it's the teacher access and the tiny little one in the corner. If that doesn't show up for you, you can't get into there. Your principal has to go in and give you access. It's a process. There are instructions here for teachers, principals, everybody about setting up your dashboard access. So we've linked this. This is a live link. You can click this to get that access. And then this is where you make your account here on Learn Alberta. Make an account, sign in. We've also linked the principal instructions here. So if you can't get into the dashboard and then you go tell your principal, can you let me in? And your principal's like, I don't know how to do that. You can come back to the slide deck. The link for principals to help them through is here too. And us or Lynn, Leslie can help you. Teresa, do you know how to do that? Or we're gonna, yeah.
I don't know if they don't
Yeah.
let me do that on
Yeah.
this one more.
Okay. Okay. So Lynn or Camille or myself will be able to help with that. And again, people in your school know how to do this. To set up your new Learn Alberta account also on the NCIS site, we have set up instructions right on the home page. You can see an arrow to it there. So there's lots of instructions on how to get set up with this if you have some trouble with that. The screener overview, those of you who attended our session, was that 2 weeks ago here at St. Leo, we handed these out, the tips and tricks sheet. So most of you have this already, but you can get another printable version of it if you need to print another one. Not only does this give us the timelines and the websites and everything in one document, it also has the exemptions, the exemption information within this document, and work with your DLCT on exemptions because they've just gone through that process as well. Speaking of excusals and exemptions, so on the tips and tricks document, like I said, page 4, that has all the information for excusals. Now, I'm not the pro on this. This is Lynn Leslie's world, but I'm going to do my best to channel her right now. So in order for a student to be excused from the screeners, there needs to be a parent or guardian permission letter. And then the DLCT will take those letters and upload them onto EdForms for that to be approved. So all excusals have to be approved from the district. And so there's that process of getting those letters in. There's lots of questions around this, and I recommend reading through that excusal page first. And then if that doesn't answer your question, you can certainly reach out to us. Lynn is the best one for these questions. She's the one who manages this. But again, I would go to your DLCT first, because they have just gone through this excusal process with the grade 1, 2, and 3 screeners. So they know the procedure already. Yeah. So students who you may want to potentially excuse, the November 25th Parent-Teacher Conference is a great time to discuss this, and DLCTs will be getting more information coming up. Did I miss anything on that? Are there questions about that? Excusals?
Yeah, so it was Michelle, you asked if the data collection part was part of the Provincial Assessment Hub. Yep. So you clicked on the Provincial Assessment Hub, click on the Literacy K-4 tab, and then it drops down and you'll see the data collection piece tab. Is there any other
data collection, and then click Teacher Dashboard within there, and that'll take you to the snowman.
Yes.
There's 2 ways. You can go through the Provincial Assessment Hub through Learn Alberta. Yeah, data collection, teacher dashboard, thank you. Or that link, I'll go back here. This link, this one, public.education.alberta.ca/assessment. Easy. Those are the 2 ways. It's all linked in the slide deck as well. Okay, we're gonna play musical chairs again. Thank you, everyone. Here's Teresa again.
Hi, everyone. Just a huge thank you to Camille and Jesse for sharing their expertise today. I can tell you, I feel your pain with this because I'm learning this too, and there's a lot to take in here. I totally understand where your headspace is. And so there were some good suggestions brought up. One of the things is that we will look at a north and a south in-person session the first week of December. So watch for that. And then if you want to come and maybe even just sit down and work through and find the site and go through everything, we'd be here to facilitate that and to help you out. So watch for that the first week of December, an in-person session. The other thing I'm going to look into is trying to have some of these print materials ready for you that first week of December. So I'm going to highly recommend that you not print anything at this time. So there's no need for it. There's no, you're not going to be using it in any way because you're not teaching to the test. So don't print anything and just hang on. And then in that first week of December, if I can manage it, I'm going to try to pull together at least some of the print materials for you so that we have a package ready to go, and that will help you a little bit with your time. Again, we are also looking at some guest teacher support. We're hoping every one of you will have at least some time. I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but that's our goal, is to give each of you some time. So what that looks like, we have to wait and see. In the meantime, yes, go check your newlearnalberta.ca account, check your teacher dashboard account. If you can't get in, you can follow along with the instructions that you were given today. If you have questions, your DLCTs know this process and can work through that. Or if you can just wait until the first week of December, you can come and we can have a worker session and support you there as well. So we're trying to give as much support as we can. Principals will be given some additional information so that they can help you get your account set up as well. We'll make sure that they have what they need to do that. And all the questions that you put in the chat today, we will compile and get the answers out in a summary to you in December as well. If you think of anything else, if you have any other questions or there's anything else that we can do to support you, please let us know. And just thank you. We know that this is a lot. It's the first time, but let's everybody just take a deep breath on this and remember that you're not teaching to this. You're not, it's not a reflection on you or your program. What your students do here is totally up to, is a snapshot of where they are in their learning journey, right? So some of them are going to be able to do some of these screening assessments. Some of them are not going to be able to do very much at all. And that's okay. That tells us then what we need to do as teachers to provide them with the programming they need. So please keep that in mind. This is a screening. It's formative. Okay. Any other questions before we wrap up for today?
Yeah. Someone asked about student excusals for EAL level 1 and 2 and SPED. Yep, there is an excusal process, and Jesse put the link into the chat. But the DLCTs have already been through this, so if you have an EAL level 1, you're probably going to want to excuse them because they're not going to be able to access it. A level 2, it's up to you. If you think that they can access the test and can give you feedback, you can go ahead and do the test. But if you want to excuse them, then there's a process to follow. Same with the SPED kids. Okay.
Yeah, and I think if you're in doubt as to whether or not you should excuse them, then do the screen with them, right? If they can't get through the screen, then you'll know. But maybe they'll surprise you and get farther than you thought, and that also gives you a lot of really good information. So if you're on the fence about that, then go ahead and do the screening with them. I think it might provide you with some information that you didn't have before.
Right. So someone asked if a code 47 can be considered as a excusal. So my answer is that if you think the student can't access the screener, like they can't understand you, then that's a good reason to excuse.
Yeah.
So if they can't understand what you're saying, then yes, it's a good reason to excuse.
Do not excuse based on code alone.
No. Good. Yes.
Right? That will not fly. It has to be approved. And if you just put in you don't want the student to do the screener because of a code, or you think they shouldn't because of a code, that's not enough. They have to be unable to access the screening assessment. So a code in many cases will not prevent them from that. So we have to be very, very careful. We're not just excusing based on a code.
And the data from the screener could give you really rich information for the learner support plan for that student if they're able to access that screener as well.
Exactly, right? You may be surprised by what you learn when you sit down and work through the screener with some of your students.
Yeah, you know your students. I would err on the side of doing the screener if I was on the fence, because it's not going to hurt any kid. And then you have good data on them. Okay, that's my own personal opinion. That's what I would do if I was a kindergarten teacher, and I have been a kindergarten teacher for a long time, and I was doing these assessments before they were even recommended, and that's what I would do. But that's me.
Yeah, and I would agree, Camille. I was the same way when I was teaching kindergarten. For sure, I think the screeners give you some good information, and then you can base your programming based on what you've learned. So, so that's where we are with that.
Yeah. Allison, I see your question about nonverbal expressive, but they can point. You know what, I think right now today, let's say if they're able to access the screener and point, I would do it with them. But Camille and I will bring that up because we have a few questions now that we'll talk with Alberta Education about and get further clarification. But again, I guess to our point, if we can use this to find out what we can know about that child, then if they're pointing at something for some of the ones, then that would be very interesting data to see what they know or where there might be gaps. But we will definitely bring that up with Alberta Education. We'll talk to Teresa to get that out to you. But that's a great question. Thank you. This gives us some more talking points.
Yeah, and you know, it's great. Like that's why we wanted to do this in October, because this is all new for us too. So please remember, this is our first time doing this with kindergarten. And so your questions are invaluable because we don't necessarily know what the questions from the field might be. So any questions that you have around this, please put in the chat or ask or reach out to us so that we can share that with everybody else, because we may not be able to anticipate what all the questions might be. We are so fortunate to have the knowledge and expertise of our curriculum learning team, because they've been through this now with some of the other grades. And so it's thanks to their expertise and knowledge that we were able to put this session together for you this afternoon. And you just continue to help support us with making these really good sessions so that you have everything that you need. Anything else, ladies?
No. Thanks for the questions, you guys. It really helps us.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Well, just wishing you all a very, very happy Thanksgiving. I hope you get a chance to get out there and enjoy the beautiful weather. We're still here for a while, so if anybody wants to stay on and jump in and ask another question or anything for clarifications, we're happy to stick around for a few minutes. Otherwise, please take